Thanks for joining. I'll kick off. So today, as we discussed, I'd like to talk about Knowby forms and event subscriptions. So this is a relatively new tool that we've added inside Knowby. And what it allows us to do is, I'll jump right in here, is first of all, understanding what the problem you might have. So instructions are great, and thank you for everybody who's actually taken part and become customers. We've really appreciated the feedback we've gotten from you. Instructions are certainly a good way into getting you into where you need to be, but there's a lot of things that they don't do. So most companies give their team instructions, but then they cross their fingers and hope that everything gets done. There's a lot of things that happen with those instructions, like compliance, inspections, and safety, and they all rely on separate paperwork that comes back to separate systems. So the big problem is there's no way to be able to bring that information back from those. With the instructions, it's all great, but you can't actually bring that information back. So there's no two-way flow. So forms and event subscriptions here is actually going to add that two-way flow. So if you have a person, let's say there's a use case, you've got a person who's who's going out in the field and they're actually going and doing a specific inspection. Wouldn't it be great once they've done and completed a Knowby, for example, to be able to bring information back from them? They're able to say, yes, I checked this pump and here are the details of it. Or, I went out and I checked this specific truck and here's the number of kilometers on the odometer. Here's the oil level. Or I checked the transformer, same kind of thing. Or as a product is going out of the yard, we want to make sure here's a QA assessment of that product. And you know what? We've got everything we need and that product's clear to go. So right now, none of those things are happening within Knowby. And what it means is that, we're missing out on all of the other side of the information coming back. So that's the problem. And how does forms in Knowby help that problem? So forms essentially make the instructions interactive. It means instead of just telling someone what to do, you can capture what actually happened right there inside Knowby. There's no extra apps, there's no paperwork, there's no copying and pasting in spreadsheet, there's no wet dripping piece of paper that's torn to pieces. It's just one step, one flow. So what is a form? A form inside Knowby adds input fields. So we've got here short answer, long answer, checkbox, single choice, multiple choice, drop down, or even the ability to upload an image. Say, for example, hey, when you finish that specific process, can you take a photo of what you've done? Then our QA department will be able to have a look at that. We can, if there's a warranty claim, we'll be able to check on it to say, hey, here was the image when it was completed. How does it differ? So what we can also do with forms is you may have a lot of back-end systems inside your ecosystem, your system ecosystem, your IT ecosystem. Some of those may be good for users to access, and some of those may be quite clunky or outdated and be quite challenging and require a certain amount of upskilling for a person to be able to, let's say, raise a purchase order or to request equipment or even just to seek things in the inventory. So what using forms inside Knowby allows you to do, it allows you to actually front end that system so that rather than having a person go and log into that system, you can just, here's a form, fill in the necessary information. All that updating in the back end to the back end systems will happen through the integration. It allows you to capture training competency as well. So, as a person completes the training, they can fill out a few questions and answers, and then they'll be able to be marked on those questions and answers, at the end of it. So it also means that you have not just each step being an instruction, but it can also be a record. So each step can say, I need to find out this specific information. Here's how you find that information. And then you can capture that information. That becomes a record for you that you can use ongoing, for posterity throughout your enterprise asset management systems or any other system that you're using. So, and on top of that as well, you've got the ability to digitize everything. And I talked to this previously that, paper is great, but pixels are better. It means that you can do things once, it gets sent through and you can update it in not just one system, but multiple systems. So you're not sending a piece of paper back to someone and they're entering that information here, someone else is entering it over there, and someone else is entering it over there. You enter it once, it's done, and it's not being entered by anybody else, it's being entered by the person at the point of where the information is being captured. So that's at a high level what a form is inside Knowby. Now, forms are great. The information is great if you've captured that value, but it needs to reach the right place. So it's good to capture the information, but unless that information is in the right system, you've got a problem where you're just rekeying everything over and over again. So event subscriptions let you send completed Knowbys or the information from completed Knowbys straight into your systems, and it happens instantly as well. So the moment the Knowby is completed, you're sending out a webhook, and boom, the data is appearing in that system. What it means is you're not chasing people. There's no delays. You're not trying to chase paperwork in the back of someone's truck. There's no double handling. You're getting that information straight away into Knowby, into your other systems. So how does that work? There's two ways right now. We have the ability to complete a webhook using an email. So, sorry, it's the ability to, when you complete a Knowby, it will send out an email, and you can pick the bunch of people who you want to send the email to, or you can send what's called a webhook. And a webhook is a type of digital integration where Knowby will tell another system the data it needs to know about the specific completion. So yeah, like I said, no more keying or chasing or rekeying or anything like that. And you can be live connected from the point where the Knowby is completed into every other system in your organization. Why would you want to do that? Every action that you do inside a Knowby creates a verified trail, and no one has to remember how to do extra reporting. So every time you complete something, you have a trail, and then that trail is there for you to be able to come back at a later date. So that could be, if you have a warranty product or something like that, or a warranty issue, you'll be able to see all of those completions that you've done when the checks were made, and you'll be able to verify them against the completions. Or let's say you have an incident, like a safety incident, you'll be able to verify all the information that was entered at that time, and then you'll be able to use that as part of your safety incident process. So you don't have to wait weeks for problems to surface. You'll be able to actually track things. If you are monitoring an asset, for example, and let's say you're monitoring the level of the battery charge inside an asset, and every time you're sending somebody to go to that asset, they're actually telling you what the level of battery is, and then you can actually be able to track that inside your system, and then over time you'll be able to see trending. So additionally, with this example, you've got a person entering information through Knowby, and then it can be updated in all these other systems, any other system. So what you'd have to do traditionally is you'd have to go in there and key these into each system one by one, and then hope that the information got keyed in correctly. So you don't have to do that anymore. And what it means is it scales. So it means that you can do less with more. You don't have to have extra people on the floor rekeying information in. You can basically hit the information in once, and then boom, it appears in all your systems. You are looking at the same system from the same source of truth. You don't need to question your data, and you can have a completion of a Knowby do pretty much anything you want digitally, anything at all. So with forms and integrations, Knowby can completely skin any backend system you've got. So what it means is your teams no longer need to log into those systems again. They can just use Knowby, and using a simple intuitive form, they can fill out their role, and they can fulfill the tasks they need to do. So what we're showing you today inside Knowby isn't just new features. It's a fundamental shift in the way that Knowby isn't only guiding the work, it's closing the loop on capturing the data and making your entire digital ecosystem easier to use. So moving to the next step, what I want to do is I want to show you a demo of how this all comes together. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to change my screen. I'm going to come over here to my different view. Here we go. And I'll show you here's something you'll be familiar with, Knowby. So I've got a demo. In this demo will be just a forklift. In this case, it's called a bandy forklift. I figured that pretty much everybody, all of our customers have access to a forklift, or they've have something where they need to use a forklift. So it's a pretty good demo that works for everyone. And in this demo here is just a weekly inspection. So the idea that you have someone that every week needs to go out and inspect that forklift. And what you're going to do is you're going to tell them how to do the inspection. And then as they're doing the inspection, you're going to be able to capture that data. So here, this is a part you know and love. Climb aboard the forklift and ensure the seat latch secures correctly and there is no damage to the seatbelt fabric. So down the bottom here, you can see we've got forms. It says, yes, the seatbelt latch is secure. I'm going to click yes. It's got no visible damage. Yes. If there is any damage, I can add some damage in there. Like I say, well, actually there is damage. I want to say, there's the weave has got a problem, and then I can actually take a photo. I can attach that photo, and that becomes a part of the completion as well. So for this one, I'm just going to hit submit response, and I'll go to the next step. In the next step here, it says inspect the instrument panel, make sure there's no warning lights, capture the engine hours and battery voltage. The engine hours, let's say it's 537676000, something like that. And then the battery voltage, it says 10 there, but you know what? I'm going to say it's 7. Because I'm going to say it's low voltage right now. There's no warning lights, it's fine. I'm going to submit response and then click to the next one. This one here, the forks raised and lowered successfully. So start the engine, it says here, lift the forks all the way to the top of the mask. and back again, tilt the forks all the way forward and back again, listen for any unusual noises and inspect for any leaks. Okay, so did the forks raise and lower successfully? For this example, I'm going to say no. Did they tilt back and forward? No. Any unusual noises? I could say yes, there's a major noise and it looks like there's a minor leak. And if I wanted to, I can upload a photo of that minor leak, for example. For this one, to keep it brief, I'll just keep on moving through and then do a steering check. Turn the steering wheel all the way to the right and then all the way to the left and then back to the center. Ensure you have a full 180 degrees of steering. So I'm going to go, yep, I've got that's worked, that worked, and that worked. And then I'm going to hit submit response. So straight away, once I've completed this Knowby, I've got a response that has been submitted. And if I was to go into reporting right now, I can see in completions that, boom, there you go, at exactly this time, which is my time right now, I can see that there has been a response and it's submitted. And here are all the different things that I chose to go through. So each value is actually submitted there. And if I wanted to, I can email off a PDF version of that. So that's all well and good. You've got the ability to track completions inside Knowby as you've already seen in the past. But let's go back to Knowby Pro and I'll show you how you can add you can actually edit the add a form. So
we just had a question there about can you use forms without using integrations, but I think you've already answered that by showing the completion section of that Knowby that you just did with the forms. So that is a yes if you want to elaborate.
Yeah, perfectly, absolutely. I mean, you can actually use the completion of the form to be able to go through and see that everything is submitted and track it. Where integrations make it easier is, rather than having some person look at the form, you can have it update other systems. So absolutely, yes, you can.
Thank you.
And I'll just bring up the Q&A on my side as well. For some reason, I can't actually see it. Here it is. Okay, so good question. If I was to come into here now and I can open up this Knowby here and I can go and edit it, I can show you how the forms have been set up. So I'll click on edit here. It will take you into Knowby Studio. And then you've seen Knowby Studio before. You can click on steps. Down the bottom here is where you have forms. So you can click on the forms here and you can actually see all of the forms that have been created for each step. So I can go to this step, this step, this step, and I can see all the different forms that have been created. Now I can jump into this form as an example, and I can say that this form field is a single choice field. I can make sure it's required, and I've got a label there. So what are the different ones that I want to choose? I want to say yes or no. Yep, seatbelt latches securely, correctly, yes or no. So and then the person's going to choose one of them. If I wanted to, I could add another option. So I could yes, no, maybe. Or and what I can do on top of this, and this we'll find out which is more important later, is I can actually configure a specific value so that when the information gets sent out of the Knowby and the completion into the integration, I can actually have this specific value that I'm looking for in that integration. Now, let's say, did you use any parts on while you actually fix this? I could say yes, and then I could have a parts list of the parts you use. You could have the user go and check each one of those parts. This value here could be the parts that's matched to the values in your inventory system, so the actual part numbers, so that when it arrives in your inventory system, you go, okay, here's the value that I need. Don't worry if this doesn't make too much sense. We can jump into more detail if individually. So for people who work with integrations, it will make complete sense for them. So this is, like I said, that's how you can add the fields. Click done, take me back into Knowby Pro, and then I'll show you where integrations are. So in the settings menu, you have the organization settings and you have event subscriptions. Now in event subscriptions, you have the ability to add as many subscriptions as you want. So currently there's two types of subscriptions. So just to explain in layman's term what an event subscription is when an event happens, I want to subscribe to that event happening and you're going to tell me about it. So when a Knowby has been completed, as an example, I want you to send me an email. Or when a Knowby is completed, I want you to send a webhook. Or when there's feedback, so someone has provided feedback within a Knowby within a specific step, tell me about it, send me a webhook or send me an email. So I'll jump into this one here, the email one as an example. And in here, you can see this is how, when I create the subscription, I can say the event type, and this one's Knowby's been completed. And then subscription type is an email or a webhook. So this one's an email. Here's the name of it, just so I know it's a useful name. And then here are the different recipients receiving that email. So every time a Knowby is completed, email these people. Now, if there's ever a failure for whatever reason, tell this person here, which is myself. You enable it, you can click test event, and then you hit the save button. So when you hit test event, it will send me a test email. If I go into a different one, for example, so a webhook, and a webhook is when something happens, I want you to dispatch a whole bunch of data to somewhere else to capture it. So information basically from the email webhook gets captured. From information from the completed Knowby gets captured into, I'll show you an example, into, here's a nice one. So this is the data that we sent out. So when we did that bendy forklift one, it says, okay, here's what happened. Here's all the information on the webhook itself, who completed it. I completed the information here. Here's a URL, for example. This is all just data that you can use elsewhere in other systems. Here's the information on the Knowby. It's a private Knowby. This is the title of the Knowby. That's who created it, so I created it. And then you've got the description, and then you've got all the detail on all the steps. So each step one, and then inside step one, you'll have the detail on the fields as well. So these are the different fields. So step one, I had a question. The question was, did the seatbelt latch secures correctly? And it's a required question, and it was a single choice, so they could only choose yes or no. And you can see here's the value that got created. It says seatbelt latch, yes. So the same for every single step. You can see that each field is created in each step. So all this information is being dispatched, and you can pick it up wherever you want and choose what you want to do with it. So as an example of an email that got sent out, so this one here, let's send an email when a Knowby's completed. If I come over to here, this is what the email would look like. So it says, hey, Clint Collins completed a Knowby Bendy 4 truck weekly inspection. Click here. So actually it is exactly this one. So I can click here to view that Knowby. It will take me to the completed Knowby inside Knowby reports, and loads it up right there. And then you can see that completed Knowby, and inside here it says, yes, the seatbelt latches securely, and I've got other details in there as well that I added during the example. Now, sending a webhook, when you send a webhook out, you need, Knowby will send a webhook, but you need another system on the other end to capture the webhook. Webhooks are a standard across IT, and most products will either do one of two things. They'll either capture the webhook themselves, or they will be able to be integrated using what's called APIs to be able to, so you'll have a workflow system that could capture the webhook for you and then update other systems. I'm not going to jump in too deep, and I apologize if this gets a little bit technical, but I'll just breeze over it. There are a bunch of workflow systems on the market. There are, for example, you may have heard of if this and that could capture a webhook. And once it captures a webhook, if this does, so it's called if this and that, because if this happens, then do that. So it's captured the webhook, and then it would do something with that. You've got what's called Zapier as well, same kind of thing. You send the webhook from Knowby to Zapier, and then you can do a bunch of other stuff in there. MuleSoft will be more the enterprise grade one, something that they'll use for very, very large systems to handle very large amounts of data, which is like a high-end tool. We at Knowby, we use a product called N8N, which you can actually sign up and get a free version as well. And N8N is great. It will capture the webhook, and you can do a bunch of stuff. Here's an example where I'm capturing a webhook from feedback. It's doing some sentiment analysis to say, is it a positive feedback? Is it a negative feedback? Or is it neutral feedback? Using OpenAI. And then I'm posting that off to Slack or to Microsoft Teams, and it will basically go, hey, some feedback has been presented. So I've got an example of that here. So where feedback, following this tool here, where some feedback was provided into a step. I just did it a bit earlier today, and it says Clint left some feedback. I said, this is awesome. And then it said where the feedback was left. I can click on that inside Teams. And again, as discussed before, it's going to open up inside Knowby Pro directly at that specific level, at a specific area that I left feedback. But if I come back to our specific example of how we did the bendy one, the forklift. So with the forklift one, I wanted to do something else. So I wanted to basically take that information that's coming from Knowby, and I wanted to say, I'm just interested in this specific Knowby. So I've got a filter there that says, just let this Knowby through. And then I want to actually use some code to detect any issues. So how you do this is kind of like, it could be as simple as complex as you like. If you've got any coding skills, it could be quite, you can make it quite easy. This is basically going through the data and saying, make some decisions off this data and then do stuff. So I can see from the execution what happened when we did this, when we sent out that webhook. It says, okay, I received the webhook here, and it went, yep, okay, and that's that specific Knowby. It's gone, yes, run through the code. I've detected some issues. It said, yes, there's definitely some issues detected, and I'm going to send an email that actually tells me about those issues. But at the same time, I want to actually take all that data and I want to put it into a spreadsheet. So If this could be a spreadsheet, this could be another system. This could be anything you wanted to update it. So it could be your back-end HR system, it could be your enterprise asset management system, it could be your resource planning system, whatever you like. So right now, for simplicity, it's updating it in a spreadsheet. So when I hit complete Knowby, it did send out an email, and when it sent it out this one here. And what I've done is I've actually taken the information, and I've got a bit of a smarter email that says, look, we've done your forklift inspection. We found some issues. Your battery voltage is low. It's at 7 volts. You've got a minor leak and major noises. And then it's gone through in detail where I've got specific issues. Again, the completed Knowby, I can click on that and it could take me to the specific Knowby. And it's just detailed out the information in each step. Additionally, if you look back at what I said as well, it says I actually want to append a row into a sheet as well. So I wanted to update another system. So if I bring up my spreadsheets, I can show you here that this morning, my time, actually this is showing at a different time zone, that's my bad. It's showing at UTZ, yeah, so Universal Time Zone. So that's at 8 o'clock this morning, 8:16 this morning. It says that a Knowby was completed. It says my battery voltage there, and it's just filling in the information into the spreadsheet. Keep on appending it down and down and down. So you can add more and more information. Hopefully that makes sense. So Kat, oh, you're on mute. Sorry, Kat.
A few more questions have come through, so I'll
Awesome.
just get those for you. So can they be used in public Knowbys? So I'm assuming it's forms or integrations. Can they be used in public Knowbys?
So with public Knowbys, you don't have the ability to track the individual because public Knowbys are anonymous. So at this stage, we can't actually use forms with public Knowbys.
Makes sense. Another question that we have: how long does the data get stored?
We don't have an end date, so
Indefinitely.
yeah, indefinitely. Yeah.
Can we add forms to our existing Knowbys?
Yes, absolutely. Just jump into Knowby Studio as we did before. Here's an example. That's a great question, actually. So if I go into Knowby Pro, I'm going to pick a Knowby that doesn't have a form in it right now. It might be this one here, setting up your espresso machine. Okay, I'm going to edit this one. It's coincidentally one of the first Knowbys we made on the new platform. So if I go into steps, you can see I've still got all the steps here. They're all loading. And then you can see inside that Knowby, you'll now have this little form button. And in here, I can go, let's say this one here, I need a filter, and I can go, I'm going to add a field here that says single choice, did you replace the filter? And I'm going to have yes and no. And you know what? If I'm going to configure a value for integration, and I'm going to say for yes, I'm going to put filter part number, whatever this may be. And then in here, for no, I can just have no. So let's say someone selects yes, then I can go into my inventory system and I'm going to say order a new one because they've replaced this filter. That's been consumed, so order a new one. I'm going to hit save, and it says here, did you replace the filter? Yes or no? You can click around, play with it. Hit done, go back, it will show me the draft version. You can play with, inside the drafts, you can play with the forms, but you can't actually submit them, obviously, because it's still a draft Knowby. So here it says you can purchase replacement filter here, but if I jump in here, it says, did you replace the filter? I can hit yes, submit. It's going to throw me an error. It says you can't submit it, but you can see how it works. And also, once that's all, once you've done everything, you can submit for approval, and then it will show up on your Knowby home screen, on your workspace, on your Knowby's home screen, yeah. While I'm here as well, something I wanted to show everybody is the reports link seems to have disappeared. It hasn't actually disappeared. We've actually moved it into this top left-hand application corner. So you can actually click up here and click on reporting, and it will take you into reporting. And to get back out again, you can click on here and go back to Knowby Pro. Any more questions there, Kat?
There was a use case yesterday that was discussed with a customer around, so the customer wanted to use forms for training purposes, but they didn't want to change the existing Knowby. So they had existing staff using a Knowby, but they didn't want to put the form on that Knowby. So the workaround for that was to duplicate the Knowby and add the form to the duplication. So it was like a training, this Knowby for training purposes, like how to start the generator or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So once you felt that the staff were ready to progress to do that task on their own, kind of test them with the form, see if they're ready to do it on their own. So that was an example of how you could add a form to Knowby for training.
That's actually a perfect segue into something else as well. That we have. You could have, like you say, you could have a form inside as one Knowby and no form in another Knowby. But you could also do what's called linking. So inside, and I'm not sure if everyone's seen this yet, but I'll jump in and I'll edit this one as an example. I could have a link inside a step where if I don't want to put the form directly in here, I could link off to a Knowby that has forms, just as an example. And I can select that, and then I can see this little K with a link next to it. That's called Knowby linking. You can link a Knowby there, and you click on that, and you can select a Knowby to link. So it could be, I want to link to this 12 camping hacks, for example, but I actually want to start from step 9. And then I'll hit the link button, and then you could go through your standard Knowby, and then you can actually link to a different Knowby that has forms. And I click on done there. I'll have to come back and delete this later. And when I go back out to the drafts, for example, you'll be able to see that I have the ability to link to that from within the step. So here, click on his here, and then it takes me to a separate Knowby, and that separate Knowby in here could have forms. That specific one's step 9. So hope that answers this question as well. Different ways you can do it. There's many different ways. I'm just going to exit this. Okay. So that's how Knowbys and forms and event subscriptions all come together. What I'll do right now is coming soon. I'll tell you what's coming next. So now we've got Knowbys, the ability to send instructions to people who need instructions. And then you've got forms, the ability to capture information from the field. And you've also got the ability to send that information to other places. What you would like to do is, I've got a forklift that needs inspecting every Monday at 9 a.m. I want to assign that to Emma or to Gary. And so the next thing we've got is the ability to assign a Knowby to a specific person for completion. And it will basically provide you with a view of, whether that Knowby has been completed, who completed it, for example, or the person you assigned it to. They can reassign it as necessary, so the individual users will be able to reassign it to other people. And you'll have a view like this. You can see where it's got the time and date. You've got all the assigned Knowbys. You can see if it's completed or if it's completed late, if it's overdue, or if it's completed on time, or if it's upcoming. So why that matters is, everybody knows who's responsible for completing that specific Knowby, and you can track people to make sure they're completing it. You're making sure, from a compliance perspective, that everything's being done as you said it's going to be done, when and where it should be done. It means it's consistency as well, so you can make sure that you're capturing those recurring tasks over and over again. Sorry, Kat, go ahead.
We don't have the PowerPoint view up.
Oh, my bad.
Thanks,
Kat. You think I've been doing this for years? You think I'd be good at it? Here we go. Thanks, Kat. So what's coming? Assigning a Knowby to a specific user or team. You can set off a one-off task and make it recurring, inspections, onboarding, compliance checks, those kind of things. You can track completions of the status directly inside Knowby. So this is the screenshot you can see here, where it shows you, here's the specific day. So his day was September 2nd in the screenshot. You can see this is a time. They've got a little red bar that moves down to say that, as things are moving forward, you can see where your current time is, what's upcoming, what's next. And there's different views as well. So you can have an admin view, which will show you every task that's been scheduled. You'll have a view that says all the tasks that I've scheduled, or you have a view that shows all the tasks that have been assigned to me, so that I can go through my checklist. And you can assign, inspections that need to happen at 9 a.m. on Monday, and yet you can make sure they recur, so that every Monday a person is notified that say, hey, you need to complete this. They can click on that little blue link there. They can preview the Knowby, start the Knowby, and then go through and complete the Knowby, and you get all the form data back in, and you can use that as we've discussed. So great use cases here: visibility, simplicity, consistency, accountability. Coming soon to a Knowby platform near you. That's what we're working on right now. And again, question time. So I'll open it up to the board. Feel free to ask any question you'd like, and I'll bring Kat back in as well and see if there's any more questions. Here we go. Michael Hawley's just asked, will there be an option to set up forms as a quiz questions with the ability to show if the answer is correct or incorrect? Definitely something we'd like in the future. Right now, it's not doing any validation on the answers. Right now, it's just capturing, but you can easily set up like the ability to do a back-end tool, like a store, to be able to verify, hey, is this question correct? Is this question correct? And then send a response through an email as an example. But yes, that's something we're definitely looking forward to in the future, is to be able to do real-time validation of answers. So not only will you be setting up a form and you say, the expected value is 4, anything else should show an error. So that part is more of a quiz and less of capturing information from the field, but definitely on our roadmap. So Michael, we can walk you through how to do this in the meantime, so we can set up some ways of doing it using integration. Just shout out. We're happy to set up some demos and examples for you. Any other questions? No? feel free to ask any questions you've got in there. Happy. Use the Q&A one's really good. That way I can see them because I'm not actually seeing the chat. See if there's any questions in the chat.
No more questions in the chat.
Okay.
I think that's the only question we have so far in the Q&A